most of this talk is going to be focused on the defensive side, and it's going to touch on why you should protect yourself and a little bit about how to protect yourself. If you look at physical security or your house, you'll try to do whatever you can to stop somebody breaking in. And there's the general theme in security for computers that you don't have to be the best or the greatest, you just need to be better than someone else. Or the old analogy, you don't have to outrun the lion, you just have to outrun your friend, and then you'll be okay. One of the guys who's far smarter than me, Charles van der Walt, who works for a company called SensePost. When I was working there, he had a lot of great ideas. Recently, he mentioned that IT security is not so much the same analogy where you need to outrun your friend, but it's more like running of the bulls in Pamplona, where it's basically not a simple thing. It's you running down the road, trying to protect yourself, trying to work out what's the best options. And sometimes you can try just stay ahead of the game, like the guy in the top there. Or you can try hiding, you make sure that all your secret information, all your personal information is well hidden, nobody's going to find it. You can try saying, well, I own a Mac, I run on Linux, the bad guys don't operate in my environment. You might be surprised, like the guy in the water. Hackers go everywhere, unfortunately. So I mentioned what I think a hacker is, and that's basically somebody who can take something apart, put it back together, but it's not necessarily a bad or a good thing. And you might hear about black hat hackers, white hat hackers, and then obviously in between there's some gray hat hackers. So for black hats, generally they're considered the bad guys. They're the sneaky Russian who's just trying to steal your money. The white hats are the guys on the defensive side, and they're gleaming white. They'll never do anything bad. And in reality, I don't think there are that many of those guys who only have pure intentions and never break any laws. And everybody else, I think, really fits into that gray hat hackers category because actually the laws change across the world. What's considered legal in South Africa is not considered legal in another country. Now that we know what hackers are, can my antivirus protect me from them? It's unfortunate, but antivirus is basically looking for certain things, certain signatures or known bad malicious things. Some of the fancier antiviruses, the next generation antiviruses, will also look at what this stuff does to try to determine if it's bad. But unfortunately, it's not going to necessarily protect you all the time. But I like to say it's kind of like wearing pants. It's probably a good idea to do that if you're going out in public. If you're going to be doing things on the internet, wearing pants will be, you'll avoid some embarrassing situations. One of the other things that you can do to make sure that you are less likely to be hacked or you're being chased by the bull all the time is making sure that all your software is up to date, including your antivirus. You look at your app store and it's always got updates and it uses a lot of bandwidth, but every time it's releasing those new features, there's often security updates as well. And those security updates basically protect you from known ways of getting hacked. One of the end results of not having patched software or being unlucky and getting a virus these days is ransomware. I'm not sure if anybody's come across ransomware. A lot of organizations and individuals are unfortunately getting hit by this quite hard. What it does is the bad guys say, well, I could infect your phone and use it to mine bitcoins, or I could infect your computer and send spam, and there's a much easier way. Let's just encrypt the person's computer and tell them they must give us money, otherwise we won't decrypt their files. And if you've ever had your hard drive crash and you haven't had a recent backup, you know it's quite painful to lose all your files, especially if you've been working on, say, your thesis or something that's you've got in multiple locations, but unfortunately they're all synced. So it encrypts your files, and then it syncs it to your Dropbox or to your iCloud, and it's all encrypted, and it's one of those things you really don't want to come across. Your antivirus will pick up the older ones, but not the newer ones. A lot of the guys who are writing these viruses for ransomware, they'll have all their various antivirus programs loaded up. They'll test it, load it onto the machine, and see which antivirus picks it up. And then they'll modify it a little bit, load it again to make sure that it doesn't get picked up. And once they know the antivirus that's currently out there doesn't pick it up, then they'll send it out. So that they've got a bit of an advantage on that side that they can keep on trying until they know your antivirus isn't going to work. One of the other topics I was just going to cover quickly is the difference between the dark web, the deep web, and the surface web. Yeah, surface web is the term. So Normally when you go to Google something, that's something that's been indexed by Google. Google knows about it. That is the general surface web. You go to Wikipedia, you go to any one of the links from a tweet, you'll see that. That's pretty much the general internet that everybody sees. Then there's a lot of information which is on the internet or websites and services which aren't indexed or aren't easy to find. And that's generally called the deeper web. So for example, if you're running your own little private IRC server, that's not listed anywhere. It still exists on the internet, but it's not necessarily easy for everybody to see or to access. And then the big scary part is the dark web. Everybody hears about the dark web, and they know it's used for bad things. Not always. So the dark web is basically just an anonymous part of the internet. It's often used for malicious things, but just like a hacker doesn't have to always be bad, it can also be used for good. A common example of people using anonymous services is activists in country, political activists. They don't want their government knowing who they are because they'll be persecuted. So the dark web can be used for good, but generally it's for drugs and guns and things that'll get you very much arrested. Another thing about just browsing the internet is everybody goes to a website, they see the little padlock. Sometimes it's next to a big green title that says the company's name, and that they say, our website's secure because we have this padlock. It's a little bit misleading because actually it's, the website itself is not necessarily secure, it's not necessarily insecure, but that little padlock doesn't mean that the website's secure. It means that your communication to that website is secure. So you can think of it as if you're sending, if you're writing a note and you put it in a box, you lock that box and you send it to your friend who has the key, only they'll be able to read that note because only they have the key to open that box and read it. And all the couriers along the way who are passing your notes inside that box along, they won't be able to read that information. And that's basically what the padlock ensures. So talking about encryption, kind of the concept where you put something in a box, you lock it, nobody else can access that information. What should you encrypt? And this is very much on a personal level. I think you should try and encrypt everything. Because we live in a world where, unfortunately, laptops get stolen, cell phones get stolen. People don't realize what's important information. We had a case where someone's laptop was stolen out of their house. You think criminals are just going to sell that laptop on, but I think it was less than 2 hours later, there was activity on her bank account because she'd stored her passwords in a text file or Excel spreadsheet on a computer. She didn't think once that her laptop would get stolen and the information on there, because there was a username and a password to log onto a computer. She didn't think that information would be accessible. But without encryption, it becomes a bit of a real problem, especially with cell phones, which grow legs quite often. Talking about encrypting and putting passwords on, I don't know if anybody's ever thought about their reset questions. When you basically sign up to a website, you say, well, okay, I'm probably going to forget my password. Let's put in some questions. And it's like the Monty Python stories. Like, what's your favorite color? There are only so many colors that people are going to choose. Somebody can guess that. There are lots of people that use one password for everything, which makes it easy to remember. If you think about it, well, my mountain bike forum that I signed up to, I used my Gmail account to sign up to that and my password. And a mountain biking forum, I don't mind if they hack that. But if I use the same username and password, the next thing they're going to get into my Gmail. And once again, your Gmail is used for things like banking or sensitive information, those pics that you took and mailed to your boyfriend or girlfriend. You don't want that stuff getting out necessarily. So it's very good to make sure that you don't use the same password for any of your accounts. You don't use the same password for sensitive accounts. And the reset questions, what I like to do is if it asks me what my favorite color is, and that's the only drop-down selection I can do for a reset question, I'll answer it something like dog, or that's obviously not a real example, but something that I know what the answer will be, but it's not, it doesn't make sense for the question. Biometrics, that's using your fingerprint for everything. Some of the banks have cottoned on to the fact that it'd be a great idea to use your fingerprint because nobody can steal your fingerprint. But what they might be missing is the fact that your fingerprint is something static. So there's no password reset option. So if somebody gets a copy of your fingerprint, and unfortunately, like the Apple device fingerprint reader, all of those things can get hacked. It's a computer reading information. If you can supply it the right information, it'll assume it's right. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.